The Roman Empire was never the largest, nor the most populous, nor the longest-lasting empire in history. It was, however, the one that wrote its own story and made sure the world remembered it. The empires on this list did not have that advantage. Some were destroyed before they could write their histories. Some were buried under deserts and jungles for centuries. Some were simply edited out. What they all share is scale that staggers the imagination, and the fact that almost nobody knows their names. Welcome to the graveyards of the giants. History is a selective memory. We obsess over Rome because we can still walk through its arches, but in the blind spots of our maps, there are ghosts of civilizations that make Rome look like a local tribe. These aren't just ruins, they are the blueprints of the modern world, buried under sand, jungle, and 1,000 years of silence. Today, we're counting down the top 10 most massive and unknown empires in history. Adjust your lens. We're going in. Number 10, the Xiongnu Empire, Mongolia. They didn't build cathedrals, they built terror. Long before Genghis Khan, the Xiongnu were the absolute masters of the Central Asian steppes. They invented whistling arrows, hollowed bone tips that screamed in the air to paralyze enemy horses. Their territory spanned 9 million square kilometers, nearly triple the size of modern India, all controlled from the back of a horse with no fixed capital. They forced the Han Dynasty into a humiliating system of peace through marriage, demanding Chinese princesses and thousands of pounds of silk every year just to stay away. The Great Wall of China wasn't built for barbarians, it was built for them. You don't build a 21,000-kilometer wall to stop barbarians. You build it because you are terrified of a machine you cannot break. Number 9. The Achaemenid Persian Empire, Iran. Alexander the Great took the glory, but Persia built the stage. In 480 BC, 44% of the entire human population lived under this one throne. Nearly 1 out of every 2 humans on Earth was a Persian subject. They maintained a 2,500-kilometer royal road with a postal system so fast it was essentially the internet of the Iron Age. Their elite force, the Immortals, was a psychological weapon. 10,000 soldiers who were replaced the second they fell, making the army appear supernatural and undying. Rome was massive, but Persia reached its peak 500 years earlier. Alexander died trying to rule what they had already perfected. The Malay Empire, West Africa. While medieval Europe suffocated under the yoke of the Black Death, West Africa stood as the undisputed gold capital of the world, the Malay Empire, 1235 to 1600 AD. At the apex of this throne sat Mansa Musa, who remains, indisputably, the wealthiest individual in all of human history. In the year 1324, he undertook a legendary pilgrimage to Mecca that defied all logical scale, an immense caravan that included 100 camels, each laden with 300 pounds of pure gold. His passage through Cairo was so devastatingly generous that he gave away such a massive quantity of precious metal that it completely collapsed the local economy for a decade. While European kings of the era were still struggling to learn how to sign their own names, Mansa Musa was transforming Timbuktu into a global beacon of knowledge, constructing colossal libraries that housed more than 700,000 scientific manuscripts on astronomy, mathematics, and advanced medicine. A golden age of unprecedented wealth and intellect, which Eurocentric history preferred to bury under the prejudice of the Dark Continent. Number 7, the Maurya Empire, India. A superpower that unified the Indian subcontinent for the first time, covering 5 million square kilometers, the size of the entire European Union today. Their military used 9,000 war elephants armored in iron plates, with swords strapped to their tusks. Their king, Ashoka, ran a total surveillance state with spies disguised as beggars and monks in every corner of the empire. After a battle that left 100,000 dead, Ashoka had a psychological collapse. He became the first ruler in history to grant legal rights to animals and build hospitals for both humans and nature. When this empire fell, India wouldn't be unified again for 2,000 years. Number 6. The Umayyad Caliphate, Middle East, Spain. A lightning strike in history. In less than a century, they expanded from the Arabian desert to Portugal. They ruled Spain for 700 years, triple the entire history of the United States. While Europe practiced bloodletting, the Umayyads were performing cataract surgeries and using anesthesia. They preserved the lost mathematics of the Greeks, refining algebra and the concept of zero in libraries that glowed with thousands of oil lamps. The modern algorithm you are using right now? It was born in their libraries while the rest of the world was in the dark. Number 5. The Mongol Empire, Central Asia, the largest contiguous land empire in human history. 24 million square kilometers. From the Pacific Ocean to the Danube River. Genghis Khan wasn't just a conqueror, he was a force of nature. He reshaped the world. 40 million people, 10% of the global population, vanished under his campaigns. So much human life was erased that nature violently reclaimed the emptiness. Dense forests swallowed ruined cities, pulling 700 million tons of carbon from the air. Yet, in the midst of chaos, they built the Pax Mongolica, a network so safe, so orderly, that a woman could carry a golden plate from one end of the empire to the other, and no one would dare stop her. A civilization of paradoxes, destruction and protection, terror and trust, all carved by the horsemen of the steppe. Number 4. The Khmer Empire, Southeast Asia. In the mid-1800s, explorers hacked through the Cambodian jungle and found something that shouldn't have existed: a stone city of 1 million people. Hidden in a place where only trees were supposed to grow. This was Angkor, the beating heart of the Khmer Empire. While London was still a collection of wooden huts and muddy streets, the Khmer were building the largest religious monument on earth, Angkor Wat. But their true masterpiece wasn't the temples, it was the water. They built a hydraulic grid of Bare's massive man-made reservoirs, so perfectly engineered and so vast, they are clearly visible from space today. They spent 600 years mastering the monsoon, but they couldn't master the planet. Modern tree ring data reveals a nightmare, a series of catastrophic megadroughts, followed by monsoon floods so violent they literally ripped the empire's canal system apart. The water they relied on for life became the weapon that destroyed them. Within a single generation, the world's largest pre-industrial city was abandoned. The stone gods were left to the vines. It wasn't an invading army that killed the Khmer, it was the climate. A warning written in stone that when the environment shifts, even the greatest machines of man are just toys for the jungle. Number 3. The Han Dynasty, China, the true twin of the Roman Empire. At their peak, the Han ruled 60 million people, 1/4 of the entire human population. While Rome mastered the Mediterranean, the Han mastered the soul of the East. They were centuries ahead of their time. In 132 AD, they invented the world's first seismograph, a massive bronze vessel adorned with 8 dragons. When the Earth shook hundreds of miles away, an internal pendulum would swing, causing a dragon to drop a bronze ball into the mouth of a toad below, pinpointing the exact direction of the disaster. But their greatest invention wasn't made of bronze, it was the imperial examination. They created the first true meritocracy, where power was earned through grueling exams and intellect, not just bloodlines. It was a system so stable it defined Chinese governance for 2 millennia. When the Han finally splintered, the collapse was apocalyptic. The population plummeted by 40%. Just as Rome's fall triggered the Dark Ages in Europe, the Han left a vacuum in the East, a void of war and silence that took centuries to heal. Number 2. The British Empire, the largest empire in human history. At its peak, it covered 35.5 million square kilometers, a landmass roughly equal to the entire surface area of the Moon. In a chilling historical anomaly, the empire's greatest weapon wasn't always its government. The British East India Company, founded in 1600, as a private corporation, once commanded a private army of 260,000 men. That was double the size of the actual British military. They were a company with the power of a nation and the conscience of a ledger. They didn't just lay tracks for progress. They engineered a global trade system that prioritized the heart of the empire over the lives of its subjects. Millions in the colonies perished in engineered famines to ensure the flow of wealth and grain back to London. They built the modern world, but they built it on a foundation of calculated sacrifice. The end didn't come centuries ago. It officially closed its doors in 1997 with the handover of Hong Kong. The last true giant of history fell within our own lifetimes. Number 1. The Qing Dynasty, China. The absolute peak of imperial scale. In 1800, 1 out of every 3 people on Earth answered to a single man, the Qing Emperor. Their unstoppable economy produced a staggering 33% of global GDP, making Britain's tiny 2% look insignificant. Then came the cataclysm. It wasn't an external invasion that broke them, but a bizarre apocalyptic civil war. Led by a mystic who claimed to be the brother of Jesus Christ, the Taiping Rebellion slaughtered 30 million people, more than the entire First World War. The final blow to 3,000 years of imperial rule was signed away by a 6-year-old boy, Emperor Puyi, before he even learned to read. He ended his life not on a dragon throne, but as a quiet gardener in a public park pruning roses while clueless tourists walked past a living god without ever knowing it.
If you didn't know at least 3 of these titans, hit that like button. It's the only way to make sure history doesn't erase them all over again. Which of these forgotten empires staggered your imagination the most? Or which one do you think deserved to rule the world? Let me know in the comments. I read them all.